Welcome to Small Talk Daily for Tuesday, May 26th, 2009. This morning I thought I'd go through a project that's of interest to me and probably a lot of other people in the Small Talk community, and that's Cloudfork, an interface to the Amazon Web Services stuff, S3, EC2, SQS, SimpleDB, a lot of interesting stuff. This morning I'd just like to go through how to start working with it in terms of loading it into VisualWorks and then just connecting to an S3 bucket because I happen to have something sitting in an S3 bucket that I can demonstrate. So let's go to Store and connect to the repository, and then once I'm there we'll go and grab the published items, and then we'll select Cloudfork. Now you want to take this one here. This is the one that Ernest has been putting into the repository. This is one that I put together a while ago when I was trying to take his disparate packages and bundle them. Ignore that. I've even marked it as obsolete so that you don't need to worry about it. Just grab this, take the latest version, and load. It'll bring in everything, including any prerequisites that you don't have loaded. Now once that's loaded, you can go here and take a look at some of the documentation that Ernest has put online. But let's just leave that aside for the moment. I'm going to go straight in here. I've already set up my secret key and my public key. You have to go to Amazon and get this information before you can do anything with this, and really you'd have to have a bucket set up before you can run the specific code that I'm going to run now. But let's go ahead and set up my credentials and then get access to S3 by doing this. Now once I've got this, I've got an instance of the S3 object that I can talk to. At this point I can talk to this guy. Now if I go to methods, you'll see that I can ask it for things like all buckets, I can create buckets, I can delete buckets. So it's a nice simple to use interface it looks like. So let's go ahead here and try just asking it for all the buckets. So we'll do an inspect on this, and that gives me back a list of all the buckets if I go to result. Up here it's giving me that this is not an error, and it's giving me a bunch of results that come back on everything. Notice it's a CFS3 response object. If I go down to result, it actually gives me the buckets themselves, and this is actually a bucket info object, and it tells me it's called JR-audio. There's actually nothing in this. I created this quite a long time ago when I was just experimenting with Amazon's S3 services. So let's go ahead and grab the buckets themselves by doing this. And then once I have the buckets, let's just print their names to the transcript by iterating through and sending name to each of them. And you see it prints those out up here. So that's nice. Now I can go ahead and grab one of them. Let's go ahead and say open this bucket called jar images because I happen to have an image in there. So let's do that. And let's take a look at my bucket and inspect that. And you see this tells me that I've got my REST access, my name, the XML handler. So it's just an access point for the bucket. And if I go again to methods, I can go and grab it by key name. I can do a get object. I can delete the object. Again, fairly simple API for accessing this. So let's go ahead and get all of these things by doing this, and that gets everything that's in the bucket. So let's inspect that, and that tells me that there's something in there with a key of jarober.jpg, and this is just a handle on that object. It's telling me how big it is, who the owner is, when it was last modified, and so on, what the key name of it is. Now if I want to actually access it, I can go into that and do a get object on it. So let's iterate over. It's a collection even though there's only one thing in it, so we'll do it on that. And now if I've got the results, let's inspect that, and we'll drill down one level. And you see I've got in result, I've got a byte array. Now with that, if I have the image readers loaded, which I need to load into my image, so let's go to System, Parcel Manager, and we'll go to Graphics, and we'll load the image readers here. So I can now read this with ImageReader with this FromStream method. Now it turns out that method's not in ImageReader. I just added it just now, and all I really did is I went to From File and I added this method by stripping off some of it. I did this so that I can demonstrate this. It's easy enough to add in your image, and I'm probably going to publish this to the public store repository in a few minutes, but be that as it may, let's go ahead and do that. So we'll go ahead and try to read that in. So let's do this. And now we'll grab each one of them, iterate through, and open them up in a little window. We'll do it on that. And you can see, there it is. There's the image that I dropped up into Amazon's S3. Now, just to show you that there's nothing up my sleeve, let me bring up an application that you might recognize, the S3 browser. Now I'm going to cover up my secret information here, but you can see that here I have JR Audio, JR Images, JR Video, so you can see that stuff's in there. If I were to double click through here, you can now see that this is in there. So there's jrober.jpg. It's the size that I got when I queried from Smalltalk. And if I double click on this, you'll see that it's going to prompt me for how to save it to my file system. So that's really about it for today. There's a nice simple interface to Amazon's cloud services that you can use. You can use this in applications that you need to do something with. So for instance, if you take the Facebook code that I've been writing and you combine it with this, you could build a Facebook web application, host the whole thing in the cloud, and not have to worry about having a server farm yourself. You'd just be leveraging all the stuff that Amazon has. Of course, you'd have to be able to afford it if it got really popular, but that's not really a code problem, that's a business model problem, and I'll kind of leave that for somebody else. In any case, that's about it for today. Until next time, have fun with Smalltalk.